Everybody. Hey, where everybody? Hey, everybody, it's your man Darrell Lawrence, and this is another episode of Green and Gold over Everythang here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Uh, I'm solo dolo in the first part of the show today. And then I got my man Jonathan Mathis coming over, the sports judge, to talk about the Rams and the Packers game on Sunday. So we'll be previewing that one. But uh, Packers, unfortunately, a fourth straight loss. It has been tough times for the Green Bay Packers this season, and a lot of questions. A trade that, in my mind, I don't know why it happened, and still a little bit upset about it myself. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the game. We'll talk about what Good had to say about Jordan Love and what these next 10 games will mean. It's a lot going on. But hey, it's green and gold over everything. Let's find something to smile about. Well, we are here, and this is episode 9 of Green and Gold over everything. And now, it has been a really rough couple of weeks for the show, and obviously just for the Packers in general. We had a couple positive things to talk about in episode 1 and 3, and it hasn't. The other episodes have been kind of downer. So, but hey, look, we're here to talk Packers football. What's going on? What some buzz, all that good stuff. We're going to recap the game between. What happened last week between the Packers and the Vikings. Now, and then of course we'll preview the game between the Rams and the Packers on Sunday. So, looking at this overall, it has been a really rough go for Green Bay, and it's been a really rough go for their fans. And a lot of fans will be like, "Oh, boo hoo! You guys have won for so many years," and it's true. It's true. I mean, I I'm not used to being feeling this way. No certainty, what that'll be 30 years of Aaron Rodgers and 30 years of Aaron Rodgers slash Brett Favre, and it's hard to look past that. Now, I've always been, maybe not the biggest Jordan Love advocate, at least in the beginning, but I am now. I feel like I see the talent there for him to take the next step. The question at this point is, do they have the coaching that can take him there? Do they have the right pieces around him that could take him there? My man Randall Burns who is usually on with me. We were talking earlier, and he was bringing up a point that Donald Driver had brought up, and that point was that, hey, the difference in between Rodgers when he got started and was the starter for the Packers is that he had a really good team around him, like a nice mix of veterans and young guys on that team, and at least offensively. And Jordan it's just young. And the thing is, I love the players that we have on this team. I really do. I do think we have a lot of good young players, but they need some veterans mixed in there to truly help this team take it to another spot. And I know we talk about that continuously week over week, but hey, man, that's where we are right now. I need something to shine. But we're gonna go ahead and break out our game recap. Here we go. All right, so our game recap. Packers lose to the Vikings 24-10. Definitely not what you wanted to see if you're a Packers fan, or as I like to call myself, a Packer enthusiast. You don't. That's the type of stuff you don't want to see. The Packers had a really rough go at it in this contest. There's a lot that went wrong. There was a lot that went wrong in this one, and a big part of what went wrong, for me, was just not being able to get things going in for pretty much the first half. I got a chance to really look at the tape, the last couple of days, and I watched it like 2 to 3 times. And for me, I think watching how bad the offense looked in the first half just really put a damper on a lot for me. I just was like, man, what is this? Especially when you see that they didn't get their first down until there was like 3 minutes. I think I want to say it was like 3:58 left in the second quarter. And they did not get a first down until then. And I'm like, what are you supposed to do when you can't get first downs? and you can't move, you can't get your offense moving. And it was hard to watch. A lot of drop passes. There were some things I'm just like, I can't believe I'm seeing that. But like I said, these guys are young. A lot of the players on this team are young, tight end position, receiver position. They're just young. The offensive line is beat up. They tried to hold their own for the most part last week, but that Minnesota defensive line has played pretty decent the last couple of weeks. And when you got Daniel Hunter, and I can't think of the other young guy, maybe he's got 3 sacks in the season. They said his name a couple times. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for the Packers when you're under those circumstances. But with all that being said, Green Bay still had chances, I think, even late. I mean, they were down 24-10, and they still had chances late, but they couldn't capitalize. They couldn't put drives together, and it's hard when you know that they have the talent to do it. And if you've seen it, and you're like, okay, this team could be really good, and then they just haven't been able to show it. I'll go ahead and talk about my players of the day, of the game for the Packers. First, we got Jaden Reed, and Reed, he had a really, decent game for the most part. 4 catches, 83 yards, 20 yards per catch in that contest. Now, there was one play that didn't work out too well for him. He had a big catch. It looked like it was going to be a big catch. Right, that was kind of across the middle. He had it, and then it kind of popped out, and then the Vikings were able to intercept the football and kind of take things from there. So probably the only mishap I think he had on the day, the glaring mishap, I would say. Let me not say that, but glaring mishap. I really like Jaden Reed. I really have a good feeling about this young man. I really do. There's something about him where I think he could be good if they use him right, continue to try to use him right, and put him in a good position. They really have some really good young talent on this team. He's definitely one of them. The other side of the ball, defensively, Devondre Campbell. It was good to see one of the leaders of our defense back. He had 14 tackles, 10 solo, 1 quarterback hit, but his presence out there definitely gave the Packers a different feel, and they needed him. They missed him in a couple of those weeks, and it's good to have him back. So having him there definitely gives the Packers a different feel on the defensive side of the ball. Even though the defense, I felt like, has played pretty good over the last couple of weeks. Now, this last game was a little tough, but it's hard when you're a defense and you're trying to get the team off the field, and then your offense is not doing the same or doing what it is needed to be done to get this team where they need to be. That's kind of where things have been. But real quick, I'll go through how this kind of went down on the scoring front. You had Cam Akers go and get Minnesota their first points of the game, a 6-yard run. And they went on a 7-play, 77-yard drive that lasted 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And that's how the Vikings got on the board. Then in the second quarter, around the 10-minute mark, they got Greg Joseph to knock a 25-yard field goal on another long drive, 9 plays, 73 yards. And it was a 4-minute drive. So then the Packers then went on their own 4-minute drive, 14 plays, 73 yards. And this was actually a really good looking drive. If you had a chance to look at it, it was a really nice drive, a good mix of the run and the pass. And they kind of ran out of time, and then they went for the field goal, missed the field goal, but then there was a penalty called against Minnesota. And when that penalty was called, you saw Carlson able to knock it in the second time around to make it a 10-3 game. But for me, a drive like that, you want points on the board, but you want 6. you definitely want 6 points on the board when you're having a drive like that happen. And at least that's what I was hoping for. I needed that 6 on the board. It just didn't happen. And just watching it, I'm like, man, this is a really good drive. So I hated that happened the way it did. Then in the third quarter, TJ Hockenson, when he got himself a 2-yard touchdown to extend it to 17-3. Then Jordan Addison, 20 yards from Kirk Cousins, and that made it 24-3. And Green Bay was just in really bad shape at that point. They did end up getting a score from Romeo Doubs to make it 24-10, and that was with still 2 minutes left in the third. And the Packers had a couple drives in the fourth where I thought, okay, if they can get down here and score, plenty of time left. They had plenty of time left where they could make an impact. And they had the ball a couple times heading towards the end of that game, and they just could not capitalize off of it. Like I said, just drop passes, maybe a couple bad throws here. And it was tough to watch. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to watch it fully on Sunday because I was at the Commanders and Eagles game, doing photography, and I really didn't get a chance to look at it. I was hearing about it, and then getting upset on the sideline. I was definitely upset about that. And then on the way back home, which is like a 2.5-hour ride for me, I tried to peek at a little bit of it then, and it was just upsetting. So I really had to wait till I get home to kind of really sit and watch it. But like I said, just you watch the drives. They put up some really long drives on both of their scoring drives. I mean, the Dobbs drive was 14 plays, 81 yards, and it was 5 minutes. And they're putting up these long, seductive drives. And I feel like no points were coming from them. Oh well, they got 10 points off of the two long ones, and then they just couldn't make things happen. So for me, just it's been hard. It's been hard, but I'm not gonna complain too much. Now, I will say this: like watching the tape, I felt that Jordan Love has really every time I watch him play, there's things that he'll do, and I said, man, he's got the potential to be really good. He really does. He really does have the potential to be good, and it's kind of sad for me because I just don't think he's getting put in the best situation. If they want this young man to succeed, you got to give him the pieces around him to make him better. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be big names. Just need a couple of vets, a veteran on the tight end room, a veteran in the receiver room. I think that things will come along as he gets going. The defense has been playing good. Now, there's something that happened that I'm not a fan of. And so it's frustrating. But I'm going to talk about this and I'll go back to something else. But, Good has really been making me upset lately. I was kind of a supporter of Good, not full blown, but enough of a supporter. But the trading of Rasul Douglas has really just given me a different mood about Good. And I think that he has made some great draft picks here and there. He made some decent moves. But this trading of Rasul Douglas bothers me. Douglas was one of the great moves that he made. He brought him in. He became a leader on his team. The players around him really love him. A lot of the words coming from players just hurt, upset that he is no longer there. I'm going to read this, and this is from Fan Nation, Packer Central. I'm also on Fan Nation with the Wizards. I do Fan Nation with the Washington Wizards, but I'm going to read this part of what comes from Fan Nation, Packer Central. And so it says that Goot went into Thursday's NFL trade deadline hoping to add his to his struggling roster. Hoping. and it didn't happen. So shout out to Bill Huber, who is the writer of this piece on NFL or on Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Packer Central. It says he went in there thinking he was going to add some pieces. He didn't add any pieces, obviously. Instead, he goes and trades starting cornerback Rasul Douglas. It was a tough one. This is what Goot said. He said it was a tough one because he means, he means so much to the team. And he said we weren't looking to move anybody, but got a call out of the blue a few days ago, where they were really interested in doing. But at the end of the day, the offer was just too good to pass up. Now, the offer that he's talking about is they traded Douglas and a 5th-round pick for the 3rd-round pick of the Buffalo Bills, which obviously Buffalo is a really good team. So, I mean, usually those picks are going to be a little bit higher in the 3rd round, but obviously it's better than a 5th-round pick. He said he thought it was in the best interest of the Packers. Obviously, in the short term, you lose a good player. That's tough. But at the same time, long term, it's going to be in our best interest. He's like, anytime you get a 3rd-round pick that's going to kind of be within the top 100, it's probably going to be in the top 50 that you have on your board. That's something I think that was too good for us to pass up. We will wish him well. He served us well while he was here, and we're excited about the opportunities it presents some other guys. It's a good also considered how it would impact the locker room. Clearly, trading Douglas, all-around cornerback, veteran, and team leader, doesn't improve the Packers' chances of salvaging a season where they have started 2-5. That's what was said. And so for me, I'm just like, wow, man, like it just doesn't. There's a lot of players hurt. Aaron Jones was hurt. He wrote a long thing about Rasul Douglas being traded. I like Douglas because he was one of the vocal leaders on the team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. If a young guy messed up, he's going to let him hear about it. And I don't think it was in a negative way, but he's trying to make the guys better. And those are the type of people you need on this team. You need veterans to mix along with the young guns, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to lose Rasul Douglas. I'm a big Douglas advocate. I love what he did for the team. That 1 year, the first year, he got all those interceptions, but he's just the guy that you want in your locker room. And now Buffalo has now taken 2 of the guys that I truly love. I was a big Micah Hyde fan, and the day that they didn't even attempt to bring my man back bothers me tremendously. And then on top of that, now you see this with Douglas. So not liking it. So Goot's on my bad side right now. Truly on my bad side. Not a fan of what I'm seeing on that front. Now, he also said something about Jordan Love, which kind of baffled me a little bit. And he said that, the next 10 games were going to prove if Jordan Love is the future of this team. And so my problem with that is that Jordan Love doesn't have true pieces around him. I don't think veteran pieces. I got to make sure I verify that. He doesn't have enough veteran pieces on that offense in the skill positions to truly help him grow. And I think Goot has done him a disservice. And now to put this 10-game thing on him is ridiculous. I still think you got to give him 2 years personally to truly see what we have in there. But you also got to make sure you give him the help. If you're not going to give him the help, Goot, then you might as well just let it go to the wayside. You got to give the man the help in order for him to take that next step. But I mean, that's kind of where it is, and I mean, it's a little sad right now, but they got the Rams this week, and it's going to be a tough one. Last year they beat the Rams, but that's where Baker Mayfield was quarterback. Now I think they may even have a rookie starting this time, so who knows? It might be a little bit better for the Packers, but they'll be at home against the Rams. Then I don't know, but this is the first time in a long time that I've went into games and I'm like, if we win, it's okay. Like, and it's like I don't have the confidence that maybe I've had after like week 3. I felt a little bit better about it. But these last 4 weeks or these last 4 games have really taken the confidence level where I think this Packers team could be. But there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack. And we'll see as the weeks come along. Well, we got a game. The Packers and the Rams from Lambeau, and both teams are in a pretty weird spot right now. but we are going to be able to bring you a preview today. And my guy, Jonathan Mathis, the sports judge, is about to join me. So that way we can talk about the Rams and the Packers and just kind of get a feel for, just kind of get a feel for this game. And he's going to give you the keys on how the Rams can beat the Packers, which I know nobody wants to hear, but I'll give it to you anyway. And then I'm going to give you the key on what the Packers need to do to go ahead and win on Sunday and get win number 3, a much needed win. But we'll see how that goes. All right, let's go ahead and head over to the game preview and bring my man Jonathan Mathis in. All right, so here we are. We got it going down this week. The Packers taking on the Rams from Lambeau Field. Now, here's the thing. We've seen these two teams take on each other last year. Packers won in Lambeau, but Baker Mayfield was the quarterback then. So it's a whole completely different dream than what it was the last time that these two teams had a chance to face each other. Now, with me today to help me preview Packers and Rams, the 2023 edition, my man, the sports judge himself, Mr. Jonathan Mathis. How you doing today, Jonathan? How's everything going, brother?
Hey, what's up, Darrell, man? Hey, you know what? Thanks for having me on. I'm glad that you chose me to come on and be a Rams insider on this show. It's always a pleasure, man. I think it's been a while since we last collaborated, so it's great to be back on board, and it's great to be back on your show. I like the background, everything. I like what you got going there. It's nice. Let's do our thing, man.
Hey, look, man. First of all, if I had my shoe game like you got your shoe game, maybe my background would be just a little bit sweeter. But I'm not on that level. I'm just not on that level. You ask my wife, I got 2 pairs of shoes, and those suckers are worn out. I'm in straight dad mode right now, older dad mode. But with all that being said, man, like I said, it's an absolute honor to have the sports judge in here, man. Look, nobody is more passionate about LA sports than my man Jonathan Mathis. So I knew. Soon as I saw this on the schedule, I'm like, I got to go get the sports judge in here to talk about the Rams. Now, Jonathan, let's get into it. The Rams are 3-5 coming into this matchup. And I'll be honest with you personally, I felt a couple weeks ago before they kind of had their couple, rough games, I thought they had a chance to start, making a little bit of noise in the NFC. And this could be a game for them to kind of bounce back and get back into that mode. Give me your 3 keys, Jonathan, on what the Rams need to do to beat the Green Bay Packers on Sunday.
Well, I think the number one thing they need to do is run the football. And you hear me say that all the time. Run the football. Why? Because that's their forte. That's what the Rams do really well. When Sean McVay came in as the head coach, that's what they did. They had an explosive running back in Todd Gurley, and they ran the ball. I feel like running the football is their foundation. I feel like when they run the football, everything else goes smoothly for the Los Angeles Rams. So if you run the football and you take care of the football, you can have a productive day. And you're going to have to really, really depend on the run game, particularly if you don't have Matthew Stafford ready to go Sunday, because we all know he's dealing with that thumb injury and he could be inactive for Sunday. And then my second key to victory would be Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. I mean, I don't know how involved you can get them in the offense if Matthew Stafford is not completely healthy and if he's not ready to go this coming Sunday. But I think if he is, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are going to have to be involved often and early to stretch the field. So I like that dynamic duel. I think those two are special. They're a big part of the offense. You definitely got to incorporate them in the offense. And number 3, put pressure on Jordan Love. If you put pressure on Jordan Love could make that mistake and turn over the football. So those are my 3 keys to victory for the Los Angeles Rams.
Hey, it's crazy. Also, I'm going to tell you, I agree with you 100% here. And I'm going to tell you why. One, the running the ball factor is very important. Why? Because the Packers have not been able to stop the run since I was like 18 years old. And that was about 2003. So it's been a long time since the Packers have been able to stop the run. We've seen teams run all over the Packers. If you want to beat the Packers, the best way to do it is to establish the run. And with this Rams team, they brought back in Darrell Henderson. They have Royce Freeman now, and I think those two guys could do enough. The Packers are going to need Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt to step up big time to try to stop those guys. But here's the problem: the Packers have not been able to stop the run for a long time. Now, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Now, Puka Nacua comes out of nowhere. He's absolutely amazing. And now it's like the Rams have two versions of Cooper Kupp, maybe a little bit of a baby Cooper Kupp, and then you got Cooper Kupp himself. So now you got two guys that can go at it. And so if you're the Packers, who are down two cornerbacks right now, you got to take advantage. They traded Rasul Douglas. Worst mistake. I think it's the biggest mistake the Packers made in trading him to Buffalo. I still don't like the idea that Goot was like, oh, well, hey, I couldn't pass up the deal. They got a 3rd-round pick for him. But you took away a guy who's a leader in the locker room. That one hurts. They're already down Eric Stokes, who has really not played that much since his rookie year, and they had big expectations coming into Green Bay. And then, so if those two receivers can get going and with a Packers team that are down on the defensive back front, could be a really big deal. And then, of course, pressuring Jordan Love. This is why I agree with you, Jonathan. Jordan Love has struggled the last couple of weeks with the pressure really being on him. He's overthrown the ball. He's thrown some picks that were just they just shouldn't have happened. He threw some picks that he shouldn't have thrown. And when he's been under pressure, he's been flushed out of the pocket. He's throwing the ball high or too high over the receivers' heads. So if they can get pressure on him, yes. And when you got Aaron Donald, it's going to be a problem, Jonathan.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And, there's going to be some growing pains there with Jordan Love. So if you put pressure on him, he doesn't do well under pressure. He folds, and then he like you said, he overthrows or he underthrows his receivers, and he missed some of his receivers pretty bad last week in that Vikings game. So if you could put pressure on him and you could make his day rough by chasing him around, and you got Aaron Donald out there. And that dude's a bad man. He can take you down and get to the quarterback and send you to the ground. And if that pocket collapse, I can see Jordan Love having one of those days where he's turning over the football frequently. We've seen it, but I think the Rams, if you want a chance, and going into Lambeau, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough to win at Lambeau. It's not easy to win. It's a hostile environment. Particularly if the weather's going to be a factor. You got to factor that in as well, because it does get pretty cold down there. You're not in Southern California. You're in another part of the country where it gets really, really cold. We're talking about the Midwest. Okay, it's a lot different. But I think the Rams, they do have to run the football, and they got some runners out there, man. They got some guys that can sprint. They got some guys that can find the gaping hole. They got guys that have the vision and can, gain a chunk of yards with their speed and their ability to run the football. So I think if you run the football, you'll have a great day. And don't rely, if Matthew Stafford is ready to go, don't rely on him to throw 40 or 50 times a game. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think they need to do any of that to win that contest, especially the way Green Bay's played the last couple of weeks. Now, here's my 3 keys to victory. And I know y'all are going to say, Darrell, but you had number 1 up there last week. Well, guess what? It implies this week. Jordan Love decision-making must improve on a weekly basis. It just has to. And so for me, number 1 is just him continuing to make smart decisions while he's out there. Number 2, contain Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And it's so funny that me and you connected on that one, on vice versa on that one. But it's 100% true. Cooper Kupp is a dangerous individual, especially if they have Matthew Stafford as the QB in their contest. You don't want to get those 2 young men going. If they get going, it could be a long day for Packers receivers. Number 3, catch the football. It's the receivers catch the football. I saw way too many drop passes last week. But passes that would have, could have changed the outcome in the game into, just a little bit for Green Bay. And they lost that game by 2 touchdowns, but there was a lot of chances that they missed out on because the receivers just couldn't catch the football. But the biggest problem with that is the Packers are so young on offense. They are so young on offense that it's starting to show. And then the first couple games, it was like, okay, look at this. The Packers could have easily at one point been 5-1, with their only loss really being to the Lions. But then they lose ugly game after ugly game. Games that they were in the game, had the ball last, and still found a way to end up losing the game. And I think these young guys are starting to struggle a little bit, and they don't have a veteran presence in the receiver room. They don't have a veteran presence in the tight end room. You got two groups that are like, I think the oldest person is 24 in both groups. Like, so you got two tight ends that are 22 years old, and you got a receiver, I think the oldest one is 24, 23 years old. You cannot win if you're trying to win. And I'm starting to think they're trying to tank. But if you're not trying to win, you can't win when you don't have, even if the guy's a third or fourth receiver or the third tight end, you need that veteran presence to kind of be there with those young guys. Packers don't have that, and it's been showing, Jonathan.
Yeah, you have a youth movement right now in Green Bay, and it's different. Fans in Green Bay are spoiled. They were spoiled with Aaron Rodgers.
We spoiled. We spoiled.
And now you got Jordan Love. It's a lot different. Jordan Love is young. The receivers are young. The receivers are dropping a lot of passes. And some of those passes that Jordan Love, even though he tend to overthrows and underthrows, some of those passes been on the money, and his receivers have let him down. Yeah. They have let him down. I mean, he can't catch for them. He can only throw it. That's what quarterbacks do. But these receivers are young, like you said, and they'll grow over time. It just takes time and patience. It's a new era in Green Bay. It's rebuild mode in Green Bay. I mean, a lot of people don't want to face reality. Green Bay fans don't want to face reality, but it is what it is. It's a rebuild. Right. It's a rebuilding phase right now. People got to get used to it. But yes, those young receivers, they're going to have to start getting better and being more reliable and being able to come down with those catches and make plays. It's real simple. You got to make plays in the NFL.
And that's the thing. I think that, I agree with you 100%, Jonathan. I think the problem is a lot of people are looking at Jordan Love and say he's failing, but you got to understand the difference between Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers, even Brett Favre. Brett Favre had Sterling Sharp when he first came in there. One of the greatest Packers of all time. If not, the guys probably could be in the Hall of Fame. Probably should be. I'm a little biased on that one. But with that being said, like, he had Sterling Sharp. He had pieces on that offense that, were veterans that knew their stuff. Aaron had Donald Driver and Greg Jennings. And I don't know if Jordy Nelson was there yet. He might have came in like a year later, but he had veteran pieces on the offense to get him going. Jordan has been handed youth and a lot of it, including himself. So when I heard the GM say the other day, well, we're going to figure things out in the next, 10 days and next 10 games and see if he's the guy. My thing, I'm starting to think that maybe he already knows in his mind he's not the guy that he wants. And maybe they're trying to move on from that. And I'm like, that's crazy, because for me, and I can't remember who I heard say it, but they was like, hey, Mike Lombardi. Mike Lombardi said it. At least 20 starts from a young guy to kind of really get a chance to see what you have. And I don't think he's getting a fair shake on that end, especially when you haven't given him any weapons offensively. Aaron Jones has been hurt. A.J. Dillon is not who we thought he was going to be. So it's kind of hard to really judge, in my opinion, no pun intended, judge there with that, and it's kind of tough, Jonathan. But I think overall, it's going to be a tough schedule. They got the Rams this week. They got the Steelers after that. Eventually, they got to play the Chargers. They got the Chiefs. It doesn't get any easier for Green Bay as the season goes along. But with that being said, before we get off of here, two things. One, Jonathan, what is your outlook on the Rams for the rest of the season? 3-5 right now, but what do you see from them the rest of the season, and what do you want to see from the Rams for the rest of the season?
Well, I want to see them continue to grow as a team. I want to see how many more wins they can pile up. I thought this would be a down season. Coming into the year, I said, you know what? This is going to be a down year. And then they surprised us with their fast start early on. Puka Nacua, like you said, came out of nowhere. I just want to see how many more wins this team can pile up and how will they fare against the 49ers now that they're struggling in the division? That makes things more interesting. That kind of shakes things up in the NFC West. So I'm interested to see where they go from there. What Sean McVay does with this offense, because we all know he's an offensive guru, and Matthew Stafford's health moving forward. I think that's a big one as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, Stafford was hurt most of last year, being nicked up here. And then you start to wonder, if you're a Rams fan, is it time to look for that next guy? That's something that is probably going to come up real soon. Hey, let's be honest. They got a Super Bowl out of Stafford. You got a ring that usually holds you off for a couple of years. But I guess we're going to find out soon, is it going to be time to look for the heir apparent to Matt Stafford?
Absolutely, it's going to be time to look for a quarterback because Matthew Stafford's getting older. He's not getting any younger. And even though he's tough as nails, I mean, this guy's a fierce competitor. He gets banged up and he's still out there making plays. But at some point, you're going to have to start thinking about a quarterback. You got to reconsider your options and look for a quarterback in the near future.
I agree 100%. Now, once again, Jonathan, I appreciate you dearly for coming on with me today, talking some Packers, talking some Rams. Let everybody know, Jonathan, where they can find the Sports Judge.
Yes, certainly. So you guys can find me on Facebook. You guys can look up the page on Facebook, The Sports Judge, and there's a cartoon profile picture of me. Make sure you guys follow and like, and then you guys can find me on Instagram. Sports Judge 85. You guys can find me on TikTok, The Sports Judge 85. I'm active on TikTok. I post a lot of sports commentaries. I post a lot of videos. You guys will have a lot of fun over there. And you guys can hear some of my hot takes and some of my biggest sports discussions that I have over there. And you guys can also find me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. Look up the YouTube channel, The Sports Judge. So those are the places where you can find me. I'm on various platforms. I'm all over the place.
Look, man, first of all, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. One of the best writers I know, one of the best writers I know, one of the best sports minds I know, one of the most passionate sports fans in the game, does a little bit of it all. And don't let the face fool you. This man is top notch, baby. Nobody messes with the Sports Judge. Hey, Jonathan, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on. This ain't gonna be the last time. I know it's been a while, but this ain't gonna be the last time that we have you hanging out with us, brother, here on Legacy Maker Sports.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Much love, man.
No problem. Much problem. Everybody, once again, I'm Darrell Lawrence. This has been episode 9 of Green and Gold Over Everything. That's my man, the Sports Judge Jonathan Mathis. We will see you all next week for episode 10. The Packers will take on the Steelers next week, and we'll recap the Rams and the Packers. All right, everybody. Until next time.